Have you ever had a moment, a simple exchange of words, that imprints itself on your soul, reshaping everything you thought you knew? I have, and it happened with my mother, Lily. I'm Leo, 22 years old, and for as long as I can remember, my mom, a vibrant 48-year-old artist, has been my world. Strong, graceful, sometimes strict, sometimes tender. She was my constant. One evening, she came home from a gallery opening. The soft click of her heels on the polished wood floor announced her return. I was on the sofa, lost in my phone, when she floated into the living room. "Leo, darling, did you miss me?" she asked, her voice light, infused with the night's cheer. I looked up and my breath hitched. She was wearing a midnight blue gown, a silken whisper against her figure that I'd never seen. Her makeup was bolder, her lips a deep berry, her auburn hair cascading around her shoulders. She wasn't just my mom returning from an event. She was a captivating woman. "You look stunning," I managed, a little too quickly. She chuckled softly, placing her clutch on the coffee table. "Just stunning?" My face flushed. "Breathtaking, actually." Her gaze held mine, and for a fleeting second, an unspoken current passed between us. She sighed, slipping off her heels, and sank onto the cushions beside me. "My feet are absolutely protesting," she declared, stretching them out. The subtle scent of her jasmine perfume enveloped me, warm and intoxicating. We talked for a while about the art, the lively chatter, the absurd antics of her friends. Her laughter was softer, almost musical, and I found myself simply enjoying the sound. At one point, she leaned back, closing her eyes. "It's peculiar," she murmured. "Nights like these make you realize how swiftly time escapes. One moment, you're the star, the next, you're just present." "You're not old," I blurted out. "Never." A faint smile touched her lips, eyes still closed. "That's very sweet, Leo." "I mean it," I insisted. "You're always magnificent." Her eyes opened then, locking onto mine. "Careful, Leo. Say things like that, and a woman might just start to believe them." Her tone was playful, yet the intensity in her gaze tightened my chest. A comfortable silence settled, gradually deepening into something more profound. She shifted, drawing her legs onto the couch, and suddenly, we were closer than ever. Her knee brushed mine, a fleeting touch that lingered, and she didn't pull away. The room seemed to shrink, the air thickening. "Leo," she whispered, her voice a soft caress of my name. "You've truly become an exceptional man." It wasn't the usual motherly praise. It was tender, deliberate. "Thanks," I managed, my voice barely a whisper. She offered a faint smile, her eyes shimmering. "Your father never truly appreciated what he had." The mention of him, the man who'd vanished years ago, should have shattered the moment. Instead, it intensified it, revealing the quiet loneliness she rarely exposed. Instinctively, I reached out and covered her hand with mine. She tensed slightly, then relaxed, her fingers subtly intertwining with mine. We remained like that, hands entwined, the unspoken hanging heavy between us. It was a subtle shift, a quiet turning of the world, and I knew nothing between us would ever be quite the same. Her hand stayed in mine, a simple connection carrying immense weight. I felt the warmth of her skin, a faint tremor in her fingers, and despite my pounding heart, I didn't withdraw. Finally, she sighed, breaking the spell. "It's late, you should probably head to bed." But her hand remained. "Yeah," I murmured. "I should." Yet I didn't move. Her lips curved into a ghost of a smile, as if she knew I wouldn't. The room was bathed in the soft glow of a single lamp, casting shadows that softened her features. She looked different, not just my mother, but a woman yearning to be seen. "Can I tell you something?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Anything." She hesitated, her eyes flickering to our joined hands. "Sometimes I wonder if I squandered the best years of my life, if I gave away too much, and now there's nothing left for me." Her words struck me deeply. "You didn't waste anything," I said quickly. "You're still incredible." Her eyes lifted, locking onto mine. "You truly think so?" "Yes," my voice was firmer than I intended. "I've never seen anyone like you. You're—" I trailed off, realizing how close I was to the edge. But she didn't stop me. Instead, she leaned in slightly, her shoulder brushing mine. "You always surprise me, Leo. You see me in ways no one else does." I swallowed hard, fighting the urge to lean closer. "That's because I actually look." Her breath hitched, a soft sound that sent a shiver down my spine. The air between us grew thick. She shifted again, curling her legs beneath her, and her thigh pressed fully against mine. This time it wasn't accidental. I tried to focus on the distant hum of the refrigerator, anything to ground me, but all I felt was her warmth, her closeness, the intoxicating perfume clinging to her skin. She tilted her head, studying me with an unreadable expression. "You've changed so much," she whispered. "When did you stop being my little boy and become this man sitting beside me?" I forced a smile. "Maybe around the time you stopped being just a mom and became someone I can't stop noticing." The words slipped out before I could retrieve them. My chest tightened, waiting for her to recoil, but she didn't. Her lips parted slightly, her eyes shimmering with something unsaid. "You shouldn't say things like that," she murmured. "Why not?" "Because," she trailed off, her voice almost breaking, "because it makes me feel things I shouldn't." My hand moved without conscious thought, lifting to brush a strand of hair from her face. Her breath caught as my fingers lingered against her cheek, softer than I intended. She didn't stop me. Her eyes closed briefly, leaning into the touch as if she'd been starving for it. When she opened them again, they were glossy, uncertain, but she didn't pull away. "Leo," she whispered, my name imbued with a weight I'd never heard. I wanted to kiss her then, every nerve in my body screaming for it, but I held still, terrified that if I crossed that final line, there would be no return. Instead, I let my thumb trace along her cheekbone, down to the corner of her lips. A feather-light touch, barely there, but enough to make her shiver. She reached up slowly, her hand covering mine. For a long moment we sat like that, our faces close, our hands entwined, hearts pounding. The silence was dangerous, alive with possibility. She broke it first, her voice trembling. "If we go any further, we can't pretend it didn't happen." "I don't want to pretend," I said. Her eyes widened slightly, and for a heartbeat I thought she would close the distance between us. Instead, she drew back just enough to breathe, to steady herself. "We should stop," she whispered, but her hand still held mine. "Do you want to?" I asked. Her silence was deafening. Eventually, she leaned back into the couch, exhaling deeply as if wrestling with herself. I followed, settling beside her, our bodies still touching. We didn't kiss that night, but in some ways what we shared was even more intimate. The touches that lingered too long, the words left unsaid, the weight of wanting what neither of us admitted aloud. I fell asleep on the couch, her hands still in mine. When I woke hours later, the first thing I felt was warmth, not from the blanket nor the gentle morning light, but from her hand still resting in mine. For a moment, I lay there, her head tilted gently against my shoulder, her breathing soft and steady. I wished I could stay like that forever, suspended in the comfort of something forbidden yet perfect. Then she stirred. Slowly she lifted her head, blinking at the light. Her makeup was smudged, her hair loose, but in that unpolished state, she looked more beautiful than ever. Her eyes met mine, a pause, too long to be casual, too heavy to be innocent. "Morning," she whispered, her voice husky with sleep. "Morning," I echoed, my throat dry. Neither of us pulled our hands away. After a moment, she exhaled and gently disentangled her fingers. The absence of her touch felt like a loss. She pushed herself upright, smoothing her dress, as if trying to reassemble herself. "You should have slept in your own bed," she murmured. "I didn't want to leave," I admitted. Her eyes flickered to me, lingering, but she said nothing. She stood and walked into the kitchen, and I followed, drawn by an invisible current. The air carried the faint scent of last night's perfume, mingled with brewing coffee. She moved quietly, filling the kettle, retrieving mugs. I leaned against the counter, watching her. Even in silence, the weight of the previous night hung between us. When she finally spoke, her back was to me. "Leo, about what happened." "Nothing happened," I cut in quickly. "We talked, we fell asleep. She turned, facing me. Her expression was conflicted, a mix of relief and disappointment. "You know that's not what I mean." I didn't look away. "Then say what you mean." Her lips parted, but the words seemed caught. She shook her head instead, as if speaking them aloud would make them too real. We sat down with our coffee, the silence stretching. I wanted to shatter it, to tell her I didn't regret a single second, but she spoke first. "You've grown up," she said at last. "Sometimes I forget, and then nights like this remind me. You're not a boy anymore, and She trailed off, staring into her cup. "You're not just my mom," I finished for her. Her eyes lifted, startled by my candor. "You're more than that," I added quietly, "at least to me." Her breath hitched. She didn't answer, but I saw it in her face, the truth she wanted to deny but couldn't. The rest of the morning passed in a strange haze. We discussed ordinary things, groceries, bills, the weather, layering normalcy over the unspoken events. But beneath every word, the secret pulsed, a hidden heartbeat. When I finally returned to my room, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor. Nothing had been said outright. No kiss, no confession. Yet everything had changed. I could still feel the warmth of her hand in mine, the way her eyes had lingered, the tremor in her voice when she'd said my name. It wasn't fantasy anymore. It was real. And I knew, with a certainty that both thrilled and terrified me, that we hadn't reached the end of the story. We had only just begun. A few days later, the air between us was still charged, a silent hum of what had transpired. We moved around each other with a new awareness, a dance of unspoken understanding. One evening, as I was preparing dinner, she walked into the kitchen. The light from the window illuminated her. She looked serene, almost ethereal. "Leo," she began, her voice soft, "I've been thinking about that night." I tensed, my hand pausing over the chopping board. "Oh?" She walked closer, stopping beside me, her hand gently resting on my arm. The familiar contact, now imbued with a new significance, sent a jolt through me. "I realized something," she continued, her gaze fixed on mine. "You're right. I'm not just your mom anymore. You're not just my son." She paused, her eyes searching mine. "And that's not a bad thing." My heart pounded. "It isn't?" She smiled, a tender, knowing smile. "No, it's beautiful. Confusing, perhaps, but undeniably beautiful." She squeezed my arm lightly. "I'm scared, Leo, but I also feel a lightness I haven't felt in years." I turned fully to face her, my voice low and earnest. "I feel it too, Mom. The fear, yes, but also this incredible sense of something real, something I don't want to let go of." Her eyes softened, glistening slightly. "I don't want to let go either." And in that moment, the last vestiges of doubt and hesitation dissolved. There was no grand declaration, no sudden rush, just a quiet, profound understanding that bloomed between us. We weren't mother and son in the conventional sense anymore. We were two individuals, drawn to each other, stepping into an uncharted territory with hesitant but hopeful hearts. We would navigate this new path together, one uncertain, beautiful step at a time. This wasn't just the beginning. It was the unfolding of a story that would redefine us both